Great. Well, welcome everybody to this CIOL webinar all about the CertTrans. We've got quite a lot of material to share with you, and then we've got time for some questions at the end. My name's John Warne, and I'm the Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Linguists and CIOLQ, and I'm joined today by Sam Taylor, who heads up all things quality and development for our qualifications. Hi, Sam.
Hello, everybody.
So just a little bit about the Chartered Institute of Linguists to begin. We are a chartered professional body. We've been representing and supporting linguists and the language profession since 1910, so over 100 years. We set benchmarks for quality and standards around the world, and we have around 5,000 professional members worldwide, and then more than 1,500 affiliates and student members. And we're the only organisation who can award you the title of Chartered Linguist, which is a demonstration of your professionalism, your qualifications, and that you're at the top of your game really as a linguist. So that's a nice accolade to hold. CIOLQ, CIOL Qualifications, is our awarding organisation, and we offer exams usually in around 40 countries around the world each year, and in lots of different time zones, especially now we offer our exams online. We offer our exams in a very wide range of languages, often over 20, sometimes over 30 languages. We also hold annual awards ceremonies for the best performers in our exams, which are a really nice celebration of candidates' achievement. Of course, our qualifications are recognised by Ofqual and their equivalents in Wales and Northern Ireland, and our qualifications are all part of the UK's regulated qualifications framework. So, without too much further ado then, why the CertTrans? Well, we believe that part of being a linguist is obviously your language skills and your self-confidence, but also qualifications make a real contribution to assuring a linguist of the standard and their achievement and their ability, assuring anyone that they work with of the same things, and also they bring a lot of personal self-confidence. So in some ways, qualifications actually make a linguist. They make you feel confident and sure of the skills that you have. So why did we start with the certificate in translation? It was really in response from candidates, from other language professionals, from universities and others who suggested to us that there was a real need for something like the certificate in translation, which is a degree level qualification to give people new routes into language professions and language work, and also the ability to demonstrate their skills in more languages. So we listened and took on board through a lot of research what the market needed, and the CertTrans is the answer to that. So in this webinar, what we'll look to do is give you a short overview of the qualification, why we developed it, how to be successful in the exam, what it will feel like taking the exam, some insights into the source texts and marking criteria, and we'll also mention how we think the CertTrans can help you in a successful career in languages, as well as being a joy in life. So Sam, would you like to tell us a little bit about why we developed the CertTrans?
Sure, I think you've covered a little bit, John, but I think the time was right for a new qualification, which will improve career prospects and provide progression opportunities for the next level and generation of linguists, and for those who want to start or expand their work as translators or within the localization industry. We wanted a qualification that would provide evidence of actual working level practical skills and knowledge. And we wanted to offer a qualification for those starting their career as a language professional to validate expertise in languages. We also felt that actually on consideration, the international market was definitely ready for another CIOLQ qualification, and one which will help progression onto CIOL membership and full chartered linguist status. So I should say that the CertTrans is both a bridging qualification to our level 7 DipTrans, as well as one that could be a standalone in which the CertTrans is. So, you know, it has a dual purpose for progression and career. And about the development itself, so our qualifications team has a wealth of experience in forming regulated qualifications, working from nothing more than an idea and a brief outline, and then working with stakeholders, consulting, and subject matter experts to actually form a valid qualification that's open to scrutiny by not only the sector, but regulation itself.
Perfect. I think also it's worth saying that what we found in initial candidate feedback is that people are also interested in adding additional languages with the CertTrans. So it may be that someone has one particular language that they focus in on for their work, but they are interested in the CertTrans to add, for example, Portuguese to Spanish or Italian to Spanish or other combinations. So we're finding that, and we're also finding that more and more people have careers and change careers throughout their life. So we're seeing a very healthy number of people and lots of interest for people later on in their lives who either want to start or reconnect with a career in languages. So people in their 50s, 60s and older who are very interested and signing up for the CertTrans. So that's very exciting. It's for all ages and stages, we believe. So just a word on professional exams and some of the benefits as we see them. So professional exams are different from university study. Clearly, university study requires dedicated study time, often counted in the years, and does generate these days university fees. So one of the benefits of professional exams is that they are a little more flexible in terms of the preparation and the balance that you might strike between taking courses and studying in your own time through self-study. So although it's always a good idea to take a course if you can, you're not formally required to pay for or complete a course to take a professional exam. And that would be true of a whole range of professional exams, not just language exams, but that is a benefit for some people. Professional exams commonly take what's called a CASLO approach, and a CASLO approach confirms the acquisition of specific learning outcomes. So in simple terms, what a CASLO exam does is it proves that you and invites you to demonstrate the real world competence or capability at the appropriate level that you would be required to show for an employer. So I guess if we're thinking about comparable sorts of studies, it would be like accountancy or law. A CASLO demonstrates that you can show those learning outcomes that would show an employer that you can do exactly what they believe you can do. So that's another one of the benefits of a professional exam. It's very clear and straightforward in demonstrating and proving your ability. University qualifications, of course, are wonderful things, but they test a much broader range of skills, things like systematic understanding of a field of study, the broad capability to do analysis and inquiry within a disciplinary structure, also forms and ways of arguing, different ways of describing and commenting on research and scholarship done by others. And then, at master's level, self-directed research and the application of originality and development of new knowledge. So it's a wonderful thing to do a university qualification, but they are testing different and broader range of things than a professional exam. So in that respect, professional exams are really ideal for adult learners who have other commitments because you can demonstrate the specific skill that you need to demonstrate to get on with your working life. And therefore, we believe our professional exams give linguists the means to be both confident in their skills and also be successful in their working lives because they are designed to prove that essential skill of can you do working level translation. So that's, I think, one of the main benefits of professional exams. So why would you take our qualifications? Well, obviously, we're very proud of them, but I think the main benefits of CIOLQ are you can be sure of what you're getting because of our long history and very extensive experience of offering high-level professional exams, over 30 years of experience. We specialize in languages. We don't do anything else, so languages is all that we do. Our qualifications and reputation are international, so if you have a qualification from us, it travels well. And our Royal Charter mission does invite us to serve not only linguists in the UK, but also in the wider world. So that's why we do all the work we do internationally. And we do think that the flexibility that we now have to enable people to take qualifications from the comfort of their own home or a choice of location that works for you, as well as across international time zones, is a real benefit. So you can take our qualifications from anywhere in the world as long as you have a strong internet connection and an up-to-date laptop or computer. So that's a real benefit, we think, in terms of flexibility and fitting in with your lives. So some thoughts on how to be successful in the CertTrans, and there will be a section for questions after we've gone through this segment. So if you have any questions, do feel free to post them in the questions section. One other point to make is if at any point you want to check back on anything we've said, or if indeed you want a copy of these slides, there is a handout which is available. You can click and download that handout. And also we will gather up your questions and very happy to provide some further answers to you subsequently in writing if we don't have time to cover everything today. And we will also send you a link to the recording after this webinar. So don't worry if you don't capture everything, and do feel free to post some questions. We'll collect them all up and come back to you after this segment. So how to succeed? First thing to say is it's a good idea to read all the candidate information. So the qualifications specification, which we spent a lot of time and effort on, is well worth a close read because it describes some of the specifics around how the qualification is structured, and indeed some of the marking criteria, which Sam will go on to describe in a few minutes. We also have a very, very useful candidate guide to remote exams. Sometimes people can feel a little bit anxious when they log on to an exam platform. It's a high stakes moment when you log in and you're about to start doing an exam. So if you've had a chance to study the candidate guide in advance, familiarize yourself and make yourself more confident and comfortable, then often you get off to a better, more of a flying start with your exam. It's a good idea to make sure you're fully aware and understand the demands of the assessment, and that you have done enough training or feel you have enough experience to attempt what is a degree level translation qualification. So this is a challenging and stretching qualification. And again, it's well worth reading the qualification specification. And we also have a guide to the CertTrans on our website, which is available free of charge at the moment, which says a little bit more about what we're expecting and what sort of preparation you might want to consider. So the fundamental here is that translations need to be completed to a high standard of accuracy, and we'll be looking for accurate transfer of information, appropriate use of vocabulary, text, managing any jargon, and also accurate transfer of subsidiary information, obviously getting the grammar and the syntax right, organizing the text well, making sure it's cohesive and coherent for the reader, that it's got good spelling, punctuation, and use of accents where appropriate. So that is the kind of core of translation, and that's the core of what we're testing here. So good to practice extensively on that. You will want to have a high level of language competence in both the source and the target language, so the language that you're reading in and the language that you're then going to write in. And you will be required to translate text within the time allocated. And it's fair to say that time pressure can be, an important part of a translator's life. So practicing at translating at the right speed and getting that balance between speed and accuracy is part of what this qualification tests. So it's a good idea to practice with a bit of timescale pressure as well, as I'm sure many of you will already do. So what will it be like actually taking the exam? Well, just like our long-standing level 7 trans diploma in translation, you'll take your exams via our online delivery platform. Again, the information you'll need to read is in the qualification specification and also in the guides. If you do have any queries, then our client services team is always very, very happy to help. On the day, you'll be invigilated by a live remote invigilator who will be in the window on your screen, who will be there to guide and help you, and also to make sure you're complying with the various guidelines and norms we need for a regulated qualification. So about a week before the exam, you'll receive an admission notification, which will have the link and the details for how you log in on the day. You'll have to you have to pass an ID check, which is relatively straightforward, all quite slick, with a piece of photographic identification as you start each session, so we can be confident that we're talking to you, and to, again, to allay any anxieties you may have or build your confidence, we do advise that you access the online demo test, which gives you a sense of what these things are going to feel like on the day, and also enables you to see what the remote assessment platform looks like. And there's even a sample text on there that you can have a play with, which of course won't be marked. That's just for you to try out. And the link to that is on ciol.org.uk/take CertTrans. So it's readily accessible via our website. And the demo text and test is a simple clickable link, and that enables you to go into the platform and have a little practice. Worth remembering that this is an open book exam, so you can use hard copy resources, but you can't use online capabilities, and that's on the principle of fairness, so that everyone has a level playing field and you don't have different advantages depending on what language or what sorts of online resources you have available to you. So that's the expectation here. Texts and marking, this is a question that people commonly ask us about, so I'll tell you what we can tell you about the texts, and then Sam will talk to you a little about the marking criteria. So when we're setting a text, we may consult published sources or research papers, etc., but the final text or passages will be of the sort that a translator might expect to find in their daily work. So, authentic in the sorts of content and the sorts of purpose, i.e. the sorts of audience that you might get. But it's probably fair to say that they're going to be texts or passages, not documents or forms. So you're thinking more prose than laid out documents, which is one of the questions we've been asked. Exam text will present a linguistically demanding challenge, but it won't be excessively difficult. It will be, appropriately difficult for the degree level and the linguistic level that we'll be testing for here, and subjects will be neutral in their character. So the exam text for Unit 1 will be around 500 words, appropriate for an educated lay reader. It will contain a variety of difficulties that will require a bit of resourcefulness and maybe using paper dictionaries if you need them. And it will also require degree level translation skills to be successful in producing an output text which is fit for the purpose. So that's what we're expecting there. The exam text could include cultural references, idioms, metaphors, colloquialisms, humour, figures of speech, and a variety of different things. So there will be a few things in there to stretch and test your linguistic range. If you then move on to Units 2 and 3, you'll choose one of them. So you do Unit 1 and one of Unit 2 or Unit 3 typically. This will be around 300 words, so a little shorter, will be a bit more specialised in its content, and will be sort of targeted at a level of complexity which is suitable for an informed reader. But again, the text won't be excessively challenging or highly specialised, but they will test a little deeper your linguistic competence in the domain either of business and commercial or government and public services, which is to a large extent around the sorts of vocabulary you might encounter, and also the sort of tone and register that you might want to translate into given the context. So this is a crucial thing, I think, for any translator, is to think about the target audience and be cognizant of the style in which a text is written. So for example, as we say at the bottom here, a text aimed at a consumer in a business context might be perhaps a little more conversational in style, whereas perhaps a very formal government or public service document might be a little more formal. So it is important to pay attention to the tone, and that will be one of the things that will be in play in the difference between the business and commercial and the government and public services units. So the sorts of subjects that may be included, and obviously, necessarily we reserve the right to have some flexibility on this because we are setting an exam and it has to be a little bit of a surprise. But basically, the sorts of topics that you could encounter would be things to do with accounting, banking, business development, commerce, economics, export and trade, finance, marketing. So those sorts of topics would be typically covered in business and commercial. And then for government and public service, it could be around defence, security, justice, civil protection, all aspects of public services like healthcare, could touch on global affairs or intergovernmental matters, international development, so a wide range of things. And that's why, as I said on the previous slide, some of this is to do with the tone and the style that we're asking you to explore a little bit in your choice between those two units. So I'll pass over to Sam now for a few insights into the marking criteria. Sam.
Thank you, John. So I should say, firstly, we have created marking criteria, as these are designed to help candidates know what is expected of them and what they need to study towards to achieve them. And they very much differ from model answers and more prescriptive marking schemes, because they offer opportunity for a range of knowledge, understanding, and skills to be demonstrated. So each unit attracts pass merit or distinction, but the qualification grade overall will be a pass, and the pass mark for each unit is 60%. Both units must be passed within a 3-year time frame from first registration for the full regulated qualification certificate to be awarded. The fact that we offer credit certificates is acknowledgement and recognition that you have achieved one unit towards your full qualification. So in effect, it allows you to build. So for each unit, there are 2 learning outcomes. Unit 1, we have be able to produce translation of a general text, which John was mentioning, that shows accurate transfer of information. And learning outcome 2 is be able to produce translation of a general text that is grammatically sound, cohesive, and coherent in your target language. For Unit 2 and Unit 3, the learning outcomes are be able to produce translation of a semi-specialised text that shows accurate transfer of information, and learning outcome 2, be able to produce translation of a semi-specialised text that is grammatically sound, cohesive, and coherent in your target language. So Unit 1 is the larger unit and focuses on translation of the general text. Unit 2 and 3 of semi-specialised text. So each of the units follow the same approach to the learning outcomes. So a little bit about learning outcomes and assessment criteria. I'm sure that a lot of you know already exactly, the definition between, but just to cover it. So learning outcomes for a vocational qualification, which is what the CertTrans is, describe what candidates should be able to do by the end of their course of study and assessment. So very much the CASLO approach. It's what employers are confident, because of the learning outcomes, what people are qualified to do. So it's very much the culmination. The assessment criteria describe how this will be actually judged at assessment, and marking descriptors indicate the expectations for the award of particular grades. So within each of the learning outcomes, there are specific assessment marking criteria which need to be considered when producing your translation. For all units and for LO1, learning outcome 1, demonstrate accurate transfer of information without omissions, additions, distortions, or misinterpretations. Apply knowledge, understanding, and use of semi-specialised terminology, vocabulary, and any jargon, and demonstrate accurate transfer of subsidiary information, for example, names, titles, dates, and figures, as well as register and tone from the source language into the target language. And then within each of the learning outcomes, there are specific assessment marking criteria. So for units and for LO2, you need to demonstrate ability to produce a translation in line with norms of grammar and syntax within the target language, demonstrate ability to ensure that the target language is appropriately organised, cohesive, and coherent. And you'll see that same theme coming through for all of it, and produce a translation that conforms to the conventions of the target language in terms of orthography, punctuation, and accentuation. So in terms of marking criteria, the final slide on this is as it's published here, but I want to add a bit. So although it's advisable to study the learning outcomes, assessment criteria and grading descriptors published in the qualification specification, we also include marking rubrics within all of our specifications, but in particular the CertTrans spec, we've taken it one step further so that candidates can see at a glance the grading approach along with the marking criteria to further inform their study and assessment. So candidates are able to actually aim for as much stretch and challenge as they can to actually access the mark bands that they want to go for. So it really does help inform your study and your assessment, because I think clarity is the way for you to be successful in your assessment. So remember, marks will be awarded under two principal marking categories: accuracy of translated text, grammar, cohesion and coherence. And consideration will be given to your ability to decode and encode text, to producing a text which, when read, is considered authentic, as well as suitable for the intended purpose.
Perfect. Okay, Sam. Well, I suppose the question that many people will be asking is, what can the CertTrans do for me? So how can the CertTrans support one of our candidates? Would you like to give us a few thoughts on that?
Sure. So expanding on the slide that you have, it equips candidates with translation skills necessary to respond to career and work opportunities, both in the global business arena, professional, government, cultural, NGO, and not-for-profit. And it provides opportunities for candidates to enter or progress into employment involving translation and languages. And not only that, but it provides candidates with a UK regulated, internationally recognised qualification. And I should say regulation for us is important. It means that all of our quality assurance is held up to scrutiny with the regulators. So you can be confident that the qualification and our other suite of qualifications is of a good standard and valid. So learning another language can be a real challenge, but it's also extremely rewarding and can lead to a lot of professional opportunities. The CertTrans being very much a working level practical qualification, it very much lends itself to this. So it assists candidates with a global outlook to aspire and to pursue international career pathways, and importantly supports a route into the level 7 DipTrans qualification. So the CertTrans will support, extend skills, improve employability, as well as supporting this progression. And with the CIOL and CIOLQ name, it will also confer quality and validity globally. It supports and extends skills that are developed during the study of language degrees or through practical experience. And we all know that there is clear evidence that language professionals are better at creative thinking and problem solving. And whichever way you spin it, having a second language on your CV makes you stand out in the job market. And we absolutely have confidence that our new CertTrans will provide a route into this further study and career, so that you can branch out into a plethora of work opportunities. Thank you, John. I think over to you.
Perfect. And just before I take you through this slide, we are going to come to the questions and answers shortly. So if anyone wants to post any questions, now is a good time to do it. So what are other people saying? Because obviously it's very important to hear what the wider market thinks. We're very, very pleased with the endorsement from the Association of Translation Companies in terms of their recognition that the CertTrans is a new, robust professional qualification, which will really help people looking to start a career as a language professional or to validate their expertise with a formal qualification in languages that they already practice in, or indeed languages that they want to extend into. So they put the question out in a recent press release to language service companies and agencies, are you confident that your freelance translators have formal qualifications? And the CertTrans undoubtedly will be helpful for both language service providers and agencies, as well as, of course, for candidates who are successful and anyone who holds the qualification in doing that thing we were talking about earlier, CASLO, proving that people have the working level skills to be successful. So it's great to have the Association of Translation Companies on board with this, and other stakeholders. I've spoken to lots of people in UK universities who are exceptionally positive about the CertTrans and see it as exactly the thing that will help people move from university study into the world of work. So lots of positive endorsements from universities as well. So we are very optimistic that this will play a real role in helping people into successful careers as linguists and extend the success of people who are already working in the language professions. And basically, fundamentally, one of the benefits of qualifications is it does give people confidence to demand their worth. And in a difficult marketplace where there is downward pressure on fees, and all of us face cost of living challenges, the ability to command what you are worth is obviously very, very important to people. So a high quality qualification is going to help you with your confidence and also your earning capability. So questions, let's have a look at some of the questions we've been asked. I'm sorry, I just moved the screen. So short courses and courses in general. One of the challenges we have is that we're an awarding organisation. So part of the rules and regulations mean that we are not allowed to recommend particular courses. Nevertheless, we do have a listing on our website of course providers, but we can't recommend any specific course provider in terms of avoiding any form of conflict of interest as an awarding organisation. So there are course providers out there. I've done some interviews recently with several course providers, talking to them about both the DipTrans and the CertTrans. So if you have a look on social media, there's quite a lot of content out there around people who are getting interested in and starting to provide courses for the CertTrans. And then there are also some listings on our website, but I can't name any particular organisation. That wouldn't be appropriate. So there's a question about how the CertTrans compares to the DipTrans. In simple terms, the CertTrans is pitched at degree level. For those of you who are familiar with the Common European Framework of Reference, CEFR, it's pitched around C1 level. So the DipTrans is pitched at master's level, and in CEFR terms, much, much more C2. So the DipTrans is harder texts and tougher marking in simplistic terms. So that's the essential difference, degree level versus master's level. And the DipTrans is more specialized, longer texts, 3 units, and more depth in the semi-specialized additional units, of which there are more different types, ranging from business through technology to arts and culture. So the DipTrans gives you an opportunity to demonstrate deeper level skills in particular subject matter domains. And as I say, the fundamental difference is pitched at master's level, or level 7 as it is known in the regulated qualifications framework. How often will the exams take place? We're currently offering exams on we're offering our first set of exams shortly. We will be looking at the level of demand, and I'd be optimistic that there may be more than one session a year. There's another question about open book exam without online tools. As I mentioned, the main reason that we have to do that is because of the very wide variation in online tools that are available across different language sets. So if you look at the languages that the CertTrans is currently offered in, from Arabic and Chinese through to French, German, and Spanish, there are very, very different levels of online capability supporting those languages, and of course a hugely different level of support for the English language. So in terms of fairness for a qualification, we've concluded that it should not have the benefits of online tools. How much time should you put aside for preparation? Well worth reading the study guide on that topic to some extent. With a CASLO exam, you're ready when you're ready. So a lot depends on your existing level and how much practice you put in, but we do give quite a lot of examples in the study guide of the sorts of preparation that we would recommend, and that will give you a guide along with obviously the standards that Sam has spoken to you about. So the invigilator question on the exam day, the invigilator does have some access to your screen in terms of guaranteeing that you're not using any tool or support that isn't allowed, but they are also there to help you and support you. We also have a customer services team, a client services team that will help you with technology and getting logged on. So there's quite extensive support on the day. Nevertheless, I think the experience is that it would be much, much better to test your settings and test your setup in advance using the demo that we've given you access to, because on the day, you're in an exam frame of mind. So people can get a little bit tense and nervous, and you want the smoothest start you can have. So there's plenty of support on the day, but nevertheless, good to test everything in advance. In terms of materials and books, that's all fine. It's the online resources which are the issue. And I think that was the main set of questions. There are one or two others around does this prepare as well for the diploma in interpretation? Well, interpretation, obviously more testing the verbal skills, but there are translation modules within the DPSI, so it will certainly help you to be successful in the translation modules if you were taking the DPSI. And probably just mindful of time, what we might do with the rest of the questions is perhaps pull together a little FAQ document which we can send to you after the presentation, and that will cover off all the rest of the questions. There was one other big question that was asked right at the start, which is I've got a master's and I already have status as a professional translator. What does someone for me have to gain from this? I think it's in the eye of the beholder, really, the answer to that question. What's clear from CertTrans and DipTrans as CASLO qualifications is they just provide a straightforward proof of that you have the skills that you say you have. So I think, again, a lot of this is around confidence. I think if you're confident that your Masters in Translation is providing you with sufficient cover, and you're confident that your status with a professional body is covering that, then you don't need the additional confidence that the CertTrans is going to bring. But I think if you're not confident about your other qualifications or your status, then I would strongly recommend the CertTrans, because, as we were saying, it is really, I think languages are to some extent greatly helped by confidence in terms of the ability to feel sure of yourself, and also I think in the world of work be demanding in terms of the value that you bring, and make sure you get paid what you deserve to be paid. And that gives us a nice little lead on actually to the last two slides, which I'll just take forward, because here, just thinking more broadly, are 5 top tips from a CIOL member who we asked about the benefit of professional exams. And her advice, and this is on our website in the CIOL Voices section if you want to hear from her and other CIOL members on their views on our exams and all sorts of other things. Her advice was take a preparatory course if you can, because it really does help with confidence and also with networking, so people to practice with and be encouraged by. So in a difficult economic context, it may not be possible for everyone to afford it, but a preparatory course is great if you possibly can. There's a lot available already. So CIOL has a lot in terms of our website. Obviously, membership, study affiliate membership is well worth thinking about. There's information on the linguist and in the linguist rather, and to get you started in your career, find a linguist directory listing is really valuable. But there are also lots of resources out there from other organisations, so make the most of the information that's out there. Was the advice from this member. She also said, think about your specializations. Clearly, as we were saying a few minutes ago, the CertTrans has deeper specializations, but there is also a specialization already, choice between business and government and public services within the CertTrans. So it's worth thinking about your longer term interests. What are you passionate about? What do you really care about? Because although certainly if you're starting a career with languages, you may not be able to get there in your very first job or in your very first projects. Very often we find with established translators that they do ultimately get to work within the things that they care about and interest them most. So that's another piece of advice that we have from members. Volunteering is considered a really good way to get some of that practical real-world translation experience, and Translation Without Borders is a really great place to start. They have a website and they do wonderful things to support languages and communities who don't have the resources that they would want to have. So that's a great place to get practice and experience. But returning to that earlier question, why have a qualification? Well, the number one piece of advice, well, number 5 on this list, but certainly a very significant piece of advice from our CRL member was don't get exploited. So basically, in a world where sometimes you will have to make choices about what you're charging or what you're prepared to accept, a CIOL qualification gives you the confidence and the proof that you have strong translation skills. So you should feel with this qualification that you can stand up for yourself and don't take things that you don't think are acceptable. As part of the resources and advice, I would stress that there's lots of information again on our website. There are resources on how to get started as a freelance translator, resources around the sorts of different things you can do with a translation qualification, and then lots of specific pieces of advice about looking after yourself, about how to develop your financial skills and grow your business. And of course, there is a wonderful network and community. The community of linguists is incredibly welcoming and supportive. So if you join that community, you'll get immense support and camaraderie. And then finally, of course, we have a website which is full of information. The Qualifications tab has all of our qualifications, access to support resources. Find a course for the person who asked about a course of study is on that tab as well as useful candidate information and our policies should you need to check them out. And that's all under CIOL Qualifications on the CIOL website. So I think that's probably all that we wanted to talk to you about today. I hope that's encouraged you to think about the CertTrans and to think about taking on that qualification and expanding and enhancing your career as a linguist. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Sam, for joining me today. And it's been great to talk to you.